Welcome to the Tears Over Beers podcast. I'm your host, and today, you might, for my longtime fans, you may recognize this format of video. We're gonna be doing shorts too. It's just three unrelated topics that I'm just gonna cram in some short, unrelated topics that I'm gonna be getting into. For today, we got Tinder for gamers, we got cooking with Zafer, and we got tides rising in Ireland. So do you remember Among Us, the video game phenomenon from a little bit ago? Something I remember about it, is that near the end of its kind of relevancy lifespan, the chat rooms, the text chat, it kind of stopped being about the game. It became more of a sort of a dating thing, which is a little disturbing. At least I found it disturbing, since it is a game that people of any age could play. So you could have people from I think the lowest I ever saw was 9 years old, up to people who, I can't recall much older people doing it, at least because I guess the older you are, the less likely you are to reveal your age to strangers, which I guess is a little freaky. But people on the internet play it, and there are some middle-aged people on the internet. So let's say anywhere from 10 to 1. That's about right, isn't it? So yeah, I think that there is a promise there. Not necessarily. I don't think that we should be having people, under the age of 18 on there. I think that's a little, I found it disturbing. But what if there was like a sort of Tinder for gamers? Because I had Tinder for a time. I used it. I tried to get back into the dating pool after the incident, and I wasn't very successful, because basically I am a gamer. I game, and that's not really what they're looking for there. They're looking for six packs, and they just want douchebags, and I'm kind of a nice guy gamer type, So what if there was like a Tinder, like a dating app made exclusively for gamers and nice guys, and of course there would be other there could be women too. I think because there's gamers. Gamer is kind of a gender neutral term, as well as there could be maybe instead of having it be nice guys, it could be nice people, nice humans. So what would we call this? Well, since it's about humans, I think we would call it Hinder. Hinder, Hinder. And I think that's an apt name for it. I think that's the correct word. I think I have a lot of gamer fans, so let me know what you think of Hinder. It is it's something I'm introducing to the world and to the market, and it's a great place for people with similar mindsets to meet up and sort of congregate, perform group activities such as, let's say, cooking. They could cook. Who else can cook? I can cook. Welcome to Cooking with Zafer. Now, Zafer is my name, but you don't need to be Zafer to cooking. Anyone can cooking is is the sort of the motto I like to get down. I like to jot it down. I like to get down to business, and the business of getting down would be cooking. This is a sort of a cooking extravaganza. Now, what are we cooking? Well, did you know, I found this out through cooking. It's sort of chemistry in a way, more than, baking or cooking. But, some people say this might be a little too of a generalizing term, but I think just to be a little more, politically correct, we don't want to say like, oh, this person is a baker because they bake, that's, I don't know. For some reason, that's not politically correct. So, we'll call them a food worker. They are a food worker. They work in the food industry. So, in a way, dye is like DYE. That's kind of in the food industry. So, cooking with Zafer, you want to be a food worker, you're going to have to get with the dye. I would argue that dye is the most important part of cooking, or being a food worker. It's the most important part because, everyone can create a good taste. You just go to the store, you buy, I don't know, ice cream, pizza. That's a good taste. But, I mean, the colors are a little bland. Like, with ice cream, you got, like, kind of white or brown. And with pizza, I mean, occasionally you'll get, like, red if you know the right guys. But that's not really what we want to go for. What if we want, like, I like to judge things not by what's on the inside, but by the color on the outside of it. That's how I tend to judge most things. So food dye, food coloring, that's poggers, right? And in fact, with this dye, it's actually a little irrelevant. I don't even know why I brought up dye. I just like to... That's part one of the Cooking with Zafer segment. We're going to transition here to part two. It's sort of a two-parter after this advertisement. Did you know that you can create a chemical explosion that is latent until it comes in contact with saliva? And it's quite easy. All you need is the right chemicals. You need a little bit of hydrogen, a little bit of oxygen, a little bit of neon. All stuff that can, easily be found in, your, check under your, sink cabinets. You might find some dish soap with all the right stuff. And that's, we got the right friends and we got the right stuff. And when you put together, it gets pretty rough. That's Wonder Pets. Now, this would be quite horrible were it to get into, like, the water supply. If this chemical were got into the water supply, if you mixed it in well, like, it would be untraceable. Luckily, the water supply is heavily guarded, so I mean that cannot happen. So no one is there are not going to be many saliva based explosions, because I mean, hey, after that whole David the Avid incident, I'm no longer a fan of deadly explosions, and I would like to stop those from happening. Hell yeah. Okay, well, recently, this is part 3, short number 3, there have been tides rising in Ireland. I actually did a sort of current events report back when I was in school. I did a current events report on the tides rising in Ireland. Every St. Patrick's Day, the Chicago rivers dyed green to show support for, on St. Patrick's Day, the tides of Ireland rise, and it kind of floods everyone. And I think there's something about snakes too. I didn't get a great grade on this assignment, but I think that's probably the liberal media trying to silence you. And by you, I mean all of us. We are all being silenced by the liberal media, as well as the snakes from Ireland. And that's really fucked up. Don't trust that, okay? It's not safe. The snakes are gonna get you. And so will the liberal media. Okay, cool. What the fuck? Okay, so yeah, every St. Patrick's Day, the Chicago rivers dyed green, because they're rising in Ireland, the tides do. So with the tides rising and all, it requires a lot more green dye. Since it's so much green dye, it's pretty difficult to hide where they store it. In fact, I know where the green dye is stored, and depending, I'll be letting certain fans know if they download my Hinder app. I'll let them know where the green dye is. I sure hope that the green dye supply is as well monitored as the water supply. Otherwise, you could easily hide, the chemical that I told you how to make. You could easily hide that in the green dye. And I know I try to, I try to keep these segments sort of separate. I don't want people to be getting the wrong idea. These are unrelated segments. I just, I have to tie them in a little bit so that the episode flows more naturally. I'm still working with this segment. I really like, this segment works and people enjoy it. They do. They tell me all the time. I'm not bluffing. This isn't a bluff. This is just truth. And I don't know why I ever stopped. Okay? Good. Jesus Christ. Okay. So yeah. What have we learned in class today? We have learned that I have a new app. It's, kind of a Tinder for gamers. It's called Hinder because we're humans. It's a gender neutral, term, for, so gamers. Yeah. So it's called Hinder. So human Tinder, but it's gamers, so it's called Hinder. It's a place to meet up with, like-minded people, fans of this podcast, maybe followers of, people who are following my, political journey. Perhaps that sort of a thing. Could it be? I hope. We learned how to cook with Zafer. We learned that the colors are, you should judge things by the color of them rather than what's on the inside. That's not really the point of that segment. It was more to teach you how to, make the chemical no, do not make the chemical. Actually, it's more of like a cautionary tale. It's like, don't accidentally combine these ingredients because it could cause deadly explosions. And I'm no longer a fan of deadly explosions after the whole DTA incident, let's say. Am I right, fellas? Boo, cringe. Yeah, that's me talking about the other guy, not me. I'm really cool. Wow, this is me talking about me. Yeah! So yeah. And by the way, the chemical that you should not accidentally make is, again, neon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And those things can be found under your kitchen sink. Every single goddamn one of you. And I'll also be selling them so that you know what they look like, so that you do not accidentally make a chemical bomb that is activated by saliva and put it in the water supply. Because even if you try to do that, it's heavily guarded. Capisce? Okay? That it's like, I'm kind of trying to speak a little. I'm trying to get, maybe a little more fans from the Italian community. I like the way they think. Like I said, pizza could use a little more colors. Like the Chicago River that they dye green to, in respect for the Ireland flooding, tides rising in Ireland, right? So, it's a lot of green dye. So it's kind of difficult to hide. And I'm just pointing this out because since there's so much green dye and since it's hard to hide, someone could potentially put like a deadly chemical into it and poison it when it goes into the water supply. And that could lead to some deadly explosions on St. Patrick's Day. Let's not have that, right? We don't want that. And if that does happen, I've really done everything I can to prevent it. So, yeah, I'm like, it's a thankless job. I'm the hero this city needs, not the one it deserves. And yeah, that's been Shorts 2, the sequel to Shorts. Thank you very much. Kisses for everyone. And I meant that in like a platonic and heterosexual way. Goodbye.